So today I want to talk to you about soup. How you doing? Allie here, and I've got Birdie with me, my little bestie. She's got her rainbow onesie on today. We are getting right into soup season, so I want to make sure I'm arming you with all the best possible soup recipes so you can have a full tummy and warm hands all through the winter season. Now, I've got to admit that I went through a phase where I didn't get what all the soup fuss was about. The idea of eating soup just didn't really appeal to me for whatever unknown reason. I don't know, I was crazy. But the older I get, the more of an appreciation I have for a steaming hot pot of hearty goodness that's loaded with meat and veggies and broth, and it just warms you from the inside out. Now, when we're talking about soups, I think today's recipe is perhaps the quintessential soup of all soups, and that's chicken noodle soup. There's a lot of different ways that you can make chicken noodle soup. I'm choosing to do an easier method just because life has been nuts lately. I mean, life has been nuts. So this chicken noodle soup recipe is going to start with mirepoix, which mirepoix is just a fancy French word that means celery, carrot, and onion. And I think using all really fresh ingredients is what's gonna give this chicken noodle soup that wonderfully homemade, comforting kind of a vibe that you want from chicken noodle soup. So fresh veggies. Birdie insists on fresh carrots, fresh onion, and fresh celery. That's number one. We're also gonna add some nice cooked chicken breast meat. I prefer breast meat in soups because it's a little leaner, so it's not gonna release a lot of grease and oil into that broth, right, Bert? Right? We know what's up. We don't want a greasy broth. She knows. I prefer breast meat, but of course, once again, I am not the food police. You use whatever kind of meat you want. Breast meat's my go-to, but go ahead and use thigh meat. I'm gonna cook it myself so that I can season it the way I like, but for an even quicker shortcut, think about using rotisserie chicken that's already been pulled away from the bones. I can get it at my local supermarket in like a plastic box, and it's a huge time saver. It's a little expensive, but it's a huge time saver, so if you're really busy, that's a great option. And then we're gonna add to that, we're gonna add some really aromatic flavorings, some herbs, spices, lemon, garlic. We're gonna simmer all of that in some store-bought stock, but again, you can make your own if you want. If you go this route, I would suggest either roasting a chicken and picking all the meat off of it and then using that carcass, or purchasing a rotisserie chicken from the deli counter at your supermarket, pulling the meat off and using that carcass. All you would do is just put it in a big stock pot, add a bunch of flavorings, like season it with salt, pepper, add that mirepoix in, that blend of herbs and spices that you love, and just let that simmer and then strain everything out, and that's homemade stock. But again, we're doing a quick and easy version here, and just because it's quick and easy doesn't mean that it's lacking in any of that homemade flavor. And then the last ingredient is the noodles. And I like to use wide egg noodles for this because they're nice and fluffy, they have like a springiness to them, and they just enhance all the flavors of the soup in the most gorgeous way. So those are your ingredients. Now let's talk about the steps. Right, Bert? You wanna know what the steps are, right? How do we make chicken noodle soup? You don't know. She doesn't know. She's learning with you. So the first thing you're gonna do is just chop up your mirepoix. You just kind of chop it into bite-sized pieces, and keep in mind that as they cook, they will shrink down. So don't be afraid if you like a really toothsome chicken noodle soup. Don't be afraid to allow those veggies like a really rough chop. Sweat them down in a hot pan. You can use butter or olive oil or a combination, whatever you like, or even just like a canola oil would be fine too. She's asking for snuggles. This is what she'd do. when she's ready for love, she just pops her little feathery head up under my chin, and that's my signal to pet her. So cute. She loves her head scratched and the back of her neck. It feels so good, doesn't it, Birdie? It feels so nice. How about some little kisses? I love you, Mama. So once your veggies have sweated down and they're starting to become a little bit tender, then you can just cover them with a couple of cartons of stock, and then either chop or pull apart your chicken breasts into nice bite-sized chunks and add them into the liquid as well. If you're not using rotisserie chicken or homemade roast chicken and you're just kind of taking the shortcut like I am here today, then you can just bake them in the oven. I like to season them pretty generously because they're so thick with salt, pepper, and garlic. That's like my go-to seasoning blend for most things. And bake them in the oven for about 20 to 30 minutes on 425. You might want to just dribble a little bit of water or stock into the pan so they don't get too dry. You're gonna check them with a digital thermometer, and you're looking for an internal temperature at around 160 degrees. It's okay if it's a little less, because if it is a little under, just poaching it in that chicken broth will bring it up to a safe temperature to eat. We're also going to make a little sachet of herbs and spices to flavor this broth and make it taste really homey and delicious. So if you go to the produce aisle of your local supermarket, you're probably gonna find little packs of herb blends. My supermarket, you can either get poultry blend or roasting blend, and either one of these would be great. They'll save you some money because you're not having to buy like 5 different bunches of different herbs, and it's just the right amount to flavor your soup. And you also get a nice variety of different fresh herbs that are really gonna complement the rich chickeny flavor. So let me grab my pack out of the fridge right now, and we can look at it together, and I'll show you what came with it. It's what it looks like, and what it has is rosemary, parsley, and thyme. Rosemary, parsley, and thyme. Those are great herbs to use to flavor all sorts of different things, but they're gonna taste really great in this chicken noodle soup. And I've also got a big bunch of flat leaf parsley because that's gonna taste great too. And guess who else loves flat leaf parsley? This chick right here. This chick. This is more and more becoming a huge part of her diet because not only does she love the taste, but she loves to rip it apart. And that's what parrots do. They are little mini dinosaurs. They love destruction. So as you can see, she's very interested in my fresh parsley. So I'm gonna add some of that. Also gonna add in a few cloves of garlic, some whole peppercorns, and all of these flavors are gonna work together to create the ultimate chicken noodle soup. And my advice is, if you can get your hands on a little square of cheesecloth, you can either order it online, I'll include a link in the description, or usually you can get it at the supermarket in the same aisle where you would get like your containers for leftovers and your zip top bags and things like that, your cake pans and like kitchen utensils. They usually do have cheesecloth in that same aisle, and you just cut off a piece, put all your herbs, your garlic cloves, your lemon peel, your bay leaves, because I didn't mention that, but like I would like to add some bay leaves to this. Did I say peppercorns? Put your peppercorns in there too, and that will keep them from floating around loose in your soup, and you don't want to like take a sip of soup and bite down on a whole peppercorn, because then your mouth will be on fire. Nobody likes that, but I do prefer to use whole peppercorns over cracked pepper or ground pepper because it keeps the broth nice and clear. There's not a bunch of floaties in there hanging around. No, we want a nice clear broth. We want everything to stand out on its own. So throw everything, all those aromatics, put them in the middle of a square of cheesecloth, bring up the corners and just tie them into a little sachet and toss them into the pot so that when the soup is done cooking, you can fish it all out really easily and only the flavor gets left behind. Veggies are soft, the chicken's gone in, the chicken broth has gone in, or stock I should say. Stock is better than broth. Try to get stock if you can. It's healthier, it's got more collagen, but it also has a ton more flavor. It's just richer. And we've added our aromatics in as well. So the last thing to do is just add the noodles. Now the noodles can cook in the broth, and if you do it that way, they will absorb so much of that rich chickeny goodness. So I do recommend it. However, if you leave them in for a really long time, they can break down and get really mushy. So if you're planning on making a really big batch of this, which it does double or even triple really nicely, then you might want to think about holding the noodles out separately. Just put them in a separate container so that when you reheat the soup, you can add them into it and bring it all up to temperature together, but it's not sitting in there for days and days, just breaking down and turning and disintegrating. So that's my pro tip. And then just before serving, you want to shower it with some more fresh herbs. I'm going to be using this parsley. I should have mentioned earlier that I think dill would also be really great if you're a dill person. But yeah, just add a little bit of that freshness, a little bit of that verdant green herb to liven everything up and awaken your palate, and dive in. Ladle yourself out a nice big bowl, serve it alongside some crusty bread or some biscuits or some soft dinner rolls. Bert wants you to know that's really yummy. Slather them with butter. Oh my gosh, so good. How great does that sound on a chilly night or even on a chilly afternoon to just cozy up with a big bowl of hot chicken noodle soup? I really think you're gonna love this. Alexa, on pause. Try to do what others do. Ooh, I'm actually a really good singer and a really good dancer, but something happens to the raw footage when I upload it to the internet and it makes me look horrible. What is that about anyway? What is that about? What is that about, Birdie? Well, thanks for watching, and I really hope you enjoy this recipe. And remember that there are lots of helpful links in the description, as well as the list of ingredients. And if you want more info, then be sure to click over to bakingamoment.com for a full explanation. And if you have questions, drop me a comment there. I love hearing from you. I promise that you'll never find another like me. Ooh, ooh, ooh. Baby, that's the fun of me. She's a little shy. Come on, dance. Ooh, ooh, ooh. All right, that's good. Have a great one.